Uftuvo mechadesh bechol yom tamid ma'aseh v'reishit ma rabu ma'asecha Adonai kulam b'chochma asita mal'ah ha'aretz kinyanecha titbarach Adonai Eloheinu al shevach ma'aseh yadecha ve'al me'orei or she'asita yefa'arucha selah.
אור חדש על ציון תאיר ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני יוצר המאורות.
We continue now on page 230 or 112 responsively. RJ will lead us and we'll join in responsively where it's indented on the bottom of the page.
How deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears who trust, led you to teach them the laws of life. Be gracious to us, teaching us as well. O merciful one, have mercy on us for making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach. Love and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill that all is in your Torah. Enlighten our eyes with your Torah, focus our minds on your mitzvot. Unite our hearts in love and reverence for your name. Then we will never feel shame, never deserve rebuke, and never stumble. Having trusted in your great and awesome holiness, we shall celebrate your salvation with joy.
Gather us in peace from the four corners of the earth and lead us upright to our land. For you, O God, work wonders. You chose us. Truly, you drew us near to your great name, that we might acknowledge you, declaring you one in love. Baruch atah Adonai, abocher be'amo Yisrael pe'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto leolam va'ed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברתם בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים אלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיהם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיהם.
Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Continue now responsively, page 239 or 121 in the middle of the page.
The eternal truth is that you alone are God and there is none else.
May the righteous of all nations rejoice in your love and exult in your justice.
Let them beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks.
Let nation not lift up sword against nation, nor learn war any more.
You shall not hate your brother or your sister in your heart.
The stranger that sojourns with you shall be accepted as your equal, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
Why do you crush my people and oppress the poor? Ask God.
We know that the Eternal One defends the poor and upholds the rights of the needy.
Praise to God Most High.
Blessed is God and deserving of blessing. Let's join together on page 240 or 122 with Mi Chamocha. Yai lai let's all join together. Ya la 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 la. Here we go. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Son Israel, kol Be'ezrat Israel, u'feleichem u'mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael, bo aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo, kedosh Yisrael, baruch atah Adonai, Gal Yisrael.
We're now at the center point of our Shabbat morning service, the tefillah, the prayer. So together we turn to page 242 or 124, and we stand.
Adonai sefatai tiftau fi agite hilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chasdei Avot ve'Imahot, U'mevir Livnei v'neihem, Le'man Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer Roshio Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atarav le'hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechakel chaim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachami rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayeh ve'numato lishenei afar, Michamocha bal givurot, Umidomech lach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatmiya Yeshua, V'nemetan atzal l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol.
Continue with Kedusha, page 248 or 130.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב על יד נביאך, וכך עשה לזה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. אדיר אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, אבינו, מלכנו, מושיענו, והוא ישמיר ברחמיו לעיני כל החי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גדולך, ולנצח נצח יתחיל קדושתך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated and join with me in the Kiddushat Hayam, the blessing for this day of Shabbat, which can be found on page 252 or 134. We'll read together in the English. Our God and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest, sanctify us with your mitzvot, and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant us your holy Shabbat as a heritage. May Israel, who sanctifies your name, rest on Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Before our prayer for peace, which we will join together in a second, we ask for God's blessings upon those who are assembled here, those who are at home with the priestly benediction, the blessing going back to Aaron, the Kohen HaGadol, to today, to those descendants of Aaron, during a time especially when our country and our world are dim on a good day. It's always good to have some extra blessings from God bestowed upon everyone.
Yevarechecha
Adonai
Ve'yishmerecha
May God bless you and protect you.
Yahweh
Yahweh
Adonai Ana Elecha Vichuneka
May God's countenance be lifted upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai Ana Elecha Ve'yasem Lecha
Shalom. May God's face shine upon yours and grant you abundant peace. Amen.
Amen.
Sim Shalom, our prayer for peace, 258 or 140 in your Siddurim.
Sim Shalom Tov al Vracha Ba'olam Chen v'chesed Verachamim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Amecha. Sim Shalom Tov al Vracha Ba'olam. Sim Shalom Tov al Vracha Ba'olam. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Chen v'chesed v'rachamim Aleinu ve'al Kol Yisrael Amecha. Let's try that. Sim Shalom Tov al Vracha Ba'olam. Sim Shalom Tov al Vracha Ba'olam. Ki ve'or panecha natat lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torah chaim me'ahavat chesed u'tzedaka u'beracha verachamim ve'chaim ve'shalom ve'shalom. Everyone, sim shalom tov al vracha ba'olam. Sim shalom tov al vracha ba'olam. Chen v'chesed v'rachamim chen v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Amecha.
Before our silent prayer, I share the words of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space, but on Shabbat, we try to become attuned to holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world. And so with those thoughts, or whatever thoughts we have, let's really separate ourselves from the week that has passed, relax where you are, seated here or at home, and have some time for silent meditation and prayer.
May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my redeemer. Page 260 or 142. Yiyu leratzon im refi vehegyo libi lefanecha Adonai tzuri vegoali Adonai tzuri vegoali.
Well, it wouldn't be a bar mitzvah without a Torah reading, would it now?
Sure would not.
No, it would not. So we not only get to hear RJ chant from this week's Parsha, which is called Chaye Sarah, one of my favorite Torah portions in the Torah. For those of you who are at home following along, if you have the actual Plout commentary, we're going to be beginning on page 154. And for those of you who just have a good old-fashioned Bible at home, we'll be starting in Genesis chapter 23, verse 1. So if you'd like to follow along, please feel free to do so. We'll begin with the Torah service, page 362 and 244 in your prayer books.
Ein kamocha Elohim Adonai vein kemaasecha malechutecha malchut kol olamim umemshaltecha bechol dor v'dor Adonai melech Adonai malach Adonai himloch leolam va'ed Adonai oz le'amo yitein Adonai Yevarech et Amo Vashalom.
Please stand.
Avarachamim Heitiv Avir Tzonecha Et Zion Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Ki Vecha Levad Patachnu Melech El Ram Venisa Adon Olamim Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah Ki Mitzion Teitzei Torah Udevar Adonai Mirushalayim Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato.
Jay and Amy, why don't you guys come up to the bima? Since you live under one roof, it's safe to hand the Torah from at least you to your son on this beautiful day of his bar mitzvah. So you guys can come right here. We'll do it symbolically, at least. Sorry about that, Cantor. I messed up the cue. That was my bad. The Torah is the precious gift of the Jewish people. It is the heritage of our ancestors, but most importantly, on a day like today, it represents your part in this story. And it's not really fair to have a 13-year-old boy write their story just yet, but today is really the day that we begin chapter 1 of your story. The Torah, Lador Vador, from generation to generation, has lived and thrived because every Jew has found themselves, or at least attempted to, find themselves in this story. And so our prayer is we hand the Torah symbolically from your parents to you, is that you will begin the process, as difficult as it may be on some days, to find yourself in the story and then write your own, so that you will hand the same Torah to your children and grandchildren, Alavai, one day as well.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Gadol Shemo Gadlul Adonai iti Uneromema Shemo Yaftav Lecha Adonai Hagitulah V'Hagifura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Ki chol b'shamayim u'va'aretz Lecha Adonai ha'mamlacha ve'haminaseh lechol lerosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Everybody now. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho Romemu Adonai
give you another second at home to find your place. Again, Genesis chapter 23, verse 1, Chaye Sarah. Just a couple notes, well, one note. The Torah portion begins with this very bizarre description of Sarah dying, but it's called Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. Very Jewish, to describe the incident or the moment that Sarah dies by drawing upon her life. So that's one kind of cool thing. But the other cool thing, well, there are many cool things, is that it describes, instead of saying, and Sarah died and she was 127 years old, some of you may remember from Sunday school that it describes it, breaks it down. Do you remember how the breakdown is of her age? Anyone recall? It doesn't just say she's 127. It says that she was 100 plus 20 plus 7. Remember? Now I remember. Vaguely remember? I guess we did not do such a good job in Sunday school on that week. So the rabbis are a little bit interested in that because it would seem like they would just say in the Torah she was 127. So they said, what's this breakdown, this 100 and this 20 and this 7? And there's a bunch of different interpretations. One that I like is that at the end of her life, by the end of her life, she was a woman who had the wisdom of someone who was 100 years old. She was wise, who had the beauty and the vigor of a 20-year-old, and who had, in a sense, the innocence of a 7-year-old. So the rabbis say that she was innocent like a 7-year-old, beautiful and vigorous and ready to go like a 20-year-old, lots of energy, and wise like a 100-year-old. But really what the rabbis are also saying, I think, is as we reflect on our own lives, and God knows, all of us in one way or another, to a greater degree or a lesser degree, are dealing with the idea of our own mortality, especially during this time of coronavirus and pandemic and the 24/7 news cycle, which is making all of us a little bit nuts. It's really about, do we in our lives live what you would call, it sounds trite, but live a good life, live a meaningful life. I mean, how many times do we say, oh, I wish I would have done this differently or would have done that differently? But it's not really about, for the rabbis, having regrets, so to speak. It's about having the aspiration to achieve some level of wisdom, some level of energy and vigor, like a 20-year-old not wasting time, and some level of innocence. I even like to call it a healthy naivete. Not just that the ability to say that we don't know everything, but that we're curious. I mean, if you think about what it means to be 7, is anyone here 7 right now? Close. We've got a couple of people close. A 7-year-old asks a lot of questions. Why? What? How? When? And so what the rabbis are describing is maybe something aspirational for us. Maybe we should think about the wisdom that we have gained in our lives, whether they're long or they're short. Maybe we should think about, are we wasting time, or do we use our vigor or our energy and not waste time? That's a big thing. I do like wasting time, by the way. I mean, television is awesome for wasting time. And have we achieved, or do we achieve, a level of curiosity? And so I really think that's why the rabbis say that Sarah was 100 plus 20 plus 7 is a way of reminding us that living meaningful and valuable lives are about curiosity and about not wasting time and about us aspiring to gain some wisdom, some knowledge through our years. And so with the death of our first matriarch, Sarah, the Torah portion bookends at the end with the death of our first patriarch, Abraham. So we'll be learning a little bit more about the Torah portion from RJ, and it's customary to not leave a Torah that's not being used uncovered. So instead of using the Torah cover, we are using this talit that belonged to RJ's maternal great-grandfather. Can you remind me his name? Abe? Abraham. Look, uh-oh. That's a pretty good cosmic little connection there, yes? So Abraham and that entire generation is definitely with us today through using this talit to cover the Torah. And now the cantor will, may his memory be for a blessing, and may this day and this moment represent, or at least remind you, that today is so much more than just about you in this one space and time. It's about the hopes and the dreams being fulfilled of people like your great-grandfather Abe, because you represent them today. So, with that being said, Cantor's going to come, and we've got a definitely cool yad that's going to be used by our bar mitzvah. Now that I've touched it, I will wipe it down. That was like, as I was lifting it up, I'm like, oh God. We still forget. So a beautiful yad that RJ's parents got for him that he'll be using today. I really like the colors on it. So RJ, why don't you come on up, and the cantor will start calling up members of your family to recite the blessing.
So we are calling up really the whole mishpacha. We are calling up RJ's grandfather, Sammy Toys, RJ's aunt, Liz Toys, RJ's aunt, Julie Lewis, RJ's uncle, Steve Lewis, RJ's cousins, Riley and Reagan Grimes, RJ's parents, Amy Nielsen and Jay Nielsen, and his sister, Casey Nielsen, to please come up. We're going to have RJ's parents and sister be here, and the rest of the family will go ahead and be by my podium. And just hold for the cue to go ahead and start, because I have a lot of names to go ahead and call up. Yam tu Shmuel ben Gershon Mates, Hana Rachel bat Gershon Mates, Hodu Pearl bat Shmuel, Yisrael ben Svi, Hana Aviva bat Yisrael, Vehodel Pearl, Malka Shoshana bat Yisrael, Vehodel Pearl, Shifre bat Shmuel bat Devorah, Yehuda ben Avraham Besara, Varda Shalchevet bat Shmuel veDevorah, Yam tu Rishon. 1, 2, 3. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol amim, v'natan lanu et
Amen. Vayihiyu chaye Sarah me'a shana ve'esrim shana ve'sheba shanim shnei chaye Sarah v'tamod Sarah Bikiryat Arba Hi Chevron Be'eretz Canaan Vayavo Avraham Lispod LeSarah Velivkota Vayakom Avraham Me'al Pnei Meito Vayadaber El Bnei Chet Lemor.
Afterwards. Here we go. Come on over here. Come on here, Casey. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natav etoheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yesher koach, mazel tov.
Give hugs and kisses to your mom, your dad.
We'll take a moment now to ask for God's blessings of healing on our loved ones who are in need of our prayers for healing on this Shabbat. If you'd like to, at home, you can write the name of a loved one in the comments section on the YouTube page. And then I'll ask for names also here from those assembled in this room in just a moment. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Matenu Sarach Barach v'Leah Hu Yivarech v'Yirapeh et HaCholim May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. If you'd like to say the name of a loved one out loud or to yourself, please do so at this time. May the Blessed Holy One be filled with compassion, for their health to be revived and their strength to be restored. May God swiftly send them complete renewal of body and spirit. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Before we call our bar mitzvah to his bar mitzvah aliyah, we now take a moment to ask for God's blessings upon Cantor Edinger, who is a birthday boy today. And so on this day of his birthday, Mishaberach Avatenu Abraham Yitzchak V'Yaakov Yimatenu Saraf Garach Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaBachur Yom Holedet Sameach le... What is Hechazan?
Moshe ben Levi V'Yeta.
Moshe ben Levi V'Yeta. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessings to our cantor, Seth Edinger. May he have and continue to have the wisdom of someone who is 100. May he have the vigor of someone, which he does have actually, the vigor of someone who is 20. And may he have the sweet innocence of a child, even though he doesn't have a boyish, good-looking face, by the way. He is a very boyish. May he and his family continue to be blessed with all goodness and health and happiness, and may he live ad mea v'esrim until 120. And together let's say, Amen.
Amen.
And Mazel Tov Cantor on your birthday. All right, now, back to the bar mitzvah, if that's okay with you. We now call for the honor of his bar mitzvah aliyah on this beautiful day, the one, the only, RJ.
Yamod, Abachor bar mitzvah Avraham ben Yehuda v'Shifra Chazak v'nidchazek.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Ger v'toshav anochi imachem. Tenu li ad chuzat kever imachem v'ekbera ti milfana v'yishdanu v'yayhei et Avraham lemor lo Shema'enu Madoni Nesi Elohim Ata B'tochenu B'mifar Kivarenu Kivor et Meteha Ishmeimenu et Kivron Lo Yichlet Memecha Mikvor Eitecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Mishaberach Avatenu Abraham Yitzchak V'Yaakov Yimatenu Saraf Garach Leah, Hu Yivarech et HaBechur HaBar Mitzvah Avraham ben Yehuda v'Shifrei. May God, who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bring blessings to our bar mitzvah boy, R.J. Nielsen, Avraham ben Yehuda Veshifre, and who has been called for the first time to the Torah in honor of God and Torah. May he merit from God the blessing of protection, rescue from any trouble or distress, from any illness, minor or serious. May God send blessing to him and to his family on his very, very successful becoming of a bar mitzvah today. And may he have blessings in all of his endeavors. Together with all Israel, let us say amen.
Amen.
And mazel tov to our bar mitzvah. And just for one moment before we lift and redress the Torah, we ask for God's blessings upon the newest of months. Cheshvan is ending tomorrow, which means Kislev, the month with the holiday of Hanukkah. It's a great month. There are 8 nights, you know. Begins in just, Monday. So if you would like to look at the prayer while we recite it and ask God for a good Kislev, and especially this year, maybe we can, in our prayers for the new month, ask that this will be the month when we turn the corner on the virus and on the pandemic. You can follow along at home or here, page 379 or 261. Yehi ratzon mefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'lehei avotenu v'imotenu. Go for it.
Yehi ratzon milefanecha, Yehi ratzon milefanecha, Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, shedechatei shalenu et hachodesh haba et hachodesh haba לטובה ולברכה, ותיתן לנו חיים, ותיתן לנו חיים, חיים ארוכים, חיים של שלום, חיים של פרנסה, חיים שנהיבנו אהבת התורה ויראת שמיים, חיים שימלאו משאלות ליבנו לטובה. Amen.
Let's read together. Our God and God of our ancestors, may the new month bring us goodness and blessing. May we have long life, peace, and prosperity, a life exalted by love of Torah and reverence for the divine, a life in which the longings of our hearts are fulfilled for good. Rosh Chodesh Kislev yeh b'yom sheni hu hayom. The new month of Kislev will begin on Yom Sheni, which is on Monday.
Amen.
Anyway, I'm very excited for Hanukkah.
It's fun.
If you couldn't tell. Mostly because of the jelly donuts.
Because of the suits.
The suits?
Our Hanukkah suits.
Oh, we do have awesome Hanukkah suits with matching ties.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. All right, everyone, we're going to take a moment to lift and redress the Torah. So everyone here or at home, please stand as the Torah is lifted to be redressed, and then we'll be going right into the service for returning the prayers for returning the Torah to the Aron HaKodesh. So again, please stand.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, Siva lanu Moshe. Torah, Siva lanu Moshe. Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. Moshe, Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Torah tziva lanu Moshe. You may be seated. So in addition to preparing to chant from, obviously, the Torah portion that I'm partial to, Chaye Sarah, which, RJ, you did an absolutely fantastic job chanting. And I wanted you to sing loud because, especially what does not get sounded at my home is a nice bass voice. Yeah. And you have a fantastic bass voice, and I look forward to further developing that bass voice with you. It's absolutely fantastic. RJ has also prepared a Devar Torah based on what he has learned from studying with Rabbi Khan about Parashat Chaye Sarah, which he will deliver to you now.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. The Torah portion for this Shabbat, Chaye Sarah from the book of Genesis, is about love and death. Just like how I love my video games, and when my mom tells me to get off, I feel great loss. Chaye Sarah takes place in Beersheba, which is in southern Israel, near a place called Haran. After Abraham lost his wife Sarah, he felt great grief. But Abraham didn't let his grief embitter his heart. Instead, he moved forward. He bought the cave of Machpelah in Haran, which is where Sarah was buried. It is also the burial site of all of our Jewish ancestors, including Abraham, Isaac, Rebekah, Jacob, and Leah. For me, loss isn't something I could relate to until COVID. This is the first experience of loss I've ever had. I had the loss of seeing my friends, the loss of playing airsoft, and even today, the loss of becoming a bar mitzvah and going to Japan. But the Jewish teachings tell us if we dwell too long on our own loss, we embitter our hearts and harm ourselves and those around us. There are times when we all experience losses in our own ways. The kind of sadness that a loss leaves can make us angry, ignoring other things in our lives. In order for me not to embitter my heart during these past months, I've talked to my friends virtually. I've also been more active with my family. And I'm trying to get outside more by using my longboard. I even rode it over here the other day to meet with Rabbi Khan. From this teaching, I believe that we need to move through our losses in order to move on. Right now, moving through our losses is something we all need to do. And if we don't move beyond the loss and grief, we as a community will develop bitter hearts and end up doing more harm. We need to try and find the positives in the situation, and like my grandma used to say, get over it. I want to thank everybody that helped me get here today, Rabbi Khan, Cantor Edinger, and my teachers, my tutor Suzanne, and my mentor Mark Lerner. Thank you for taking the time to teach and guide me through this process. I also want to thank my cousin Reagan for the extra tutoring. I'm sure she didn't only do it for the money. And a big shout out to my mom and dad who kept on constantly nagging me to study every day. Thank you for pushing me to make it here today. Shabbat Shalom.
And now we can take a moment to return the Torah to the Aron HaKodesh. The service for returning the Torah can be found on page 374 or 256. Once we've returned the Torah to the Aron HaKodesh, RJ's parents will stand with him in front of the Ark and say their own words of blessings and praise for their son, and then Cantor and I get to share a few words as well. So please look forward to standing for a little bit longer as the Aron HaKodesh is open. I ask you to please stand. Again, 374, 256, standing whether you are here or at home.
Hallelujah et Shem Adonai, ki nizgav Shemo levato, Oto al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo, tehillah lechol vasitav, livnei Israel am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Eitz chaim hi lama chazikim pa v'tomchecha meushar derachecha darchei noam v'chol netivotecha Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Keketem.
It's nice to invite Amy and Jay to come, and RJ, for you to stand with your parents next to the Arona Kodesh. I'd like to invite your sisters to come up also. Sorry about that. Hang on. So your family has been such an important part of my life and such an important part of our congregation. For a very, very long time, we sort of got to know each other and bond in a way, reluctantly, when your grandma died many years ago. And I loved that you invoked the get over it, because I can see the expression on her face saying those words in the way that you delivered it. I mean, it was like perfect. You know, your mom and your dad and your sisters have all just represented, I think, everything about what we try to do as a synagogue and as a congregation, what we aspire to do, which is to have relationships of meaning. And we've shared so many life cycle events together, and wedding anniversaries, and bat mitzvahs, and joyous occasions like today. But today was a joyous occasion that was surrounded by some real darkness. The feelings that we all have of, I'm going to use a big word, ambivalence, but really somewhat the reluctance that I think you felt even in these last couple of months to do this. You're not alone. We're all feeling reluctance to celebrate and to have joy because of what's happening in the world around us. And yet, as Jews, we're kind of required to get over it, to do what your grandma said, of blessed memory, to get over it. Now, I don't want to be so blasé about it, because it's not that simple. Last night, I talked about this a little bit. Abraham, at the beginning of your parsha, after his precious wife of so many years, his partner in crime, Sarah, dies, the Torah says he mourns for her, he bewails her, he's sad, and then it says, Vayakom Avraham, and Abraham rose, he got up. In the last month, before I say that, and what that represents, I think, in his sort of getting up, even though he's really sad. I mean, he's crying. It's his partner. It's our matriarch, Sarah. The getting up part and moving and doing is the lesson for us that, as you said perfectly in your speech, there is a time to be sad, and there's a time to take in the sadness that's around us, but there's also a time, Vayakom, to get up, to rise. And then the next part of that is to say, and I'm here, I'm ready to move, I'm ready to do something. About a month ago, Cantor and I had a series of conversations with you because we could sense that you were almost stuck. So many people are stuck now. I call it the deer in the headlights scenario. We're all stuck because we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, what next week's going to look like, what the month from now is going to look like. And for you, my friend, You did what Abraham did, Vayakom RJ. You got up and you said to yourself, with a little bit of help, I know especially from the cantor, to know that you could do this and you could celebrate and you could have joy in your heart and you could be successful and you could make us all happy. And that, my friend, is what heals us and heals the world. The world needs your effort, your kind of energy. We've been talking a lot about this computer that you're building. And to see your face light up as you're describing each and every part and the cards and I don't even know what these things are, but the passion and commitment that you have to this project is Vayakom. It's in that same idea of getting up, of rising above the chaos and the clutter and the sadness and all these things that are going on. And you did it, my friend. And I'm so proud of you because it's an act of courage to, at a time like this, and I said this to a lot of the kids in the last few months, it takes tremendous courage for your family to not just postpone your bar mitzvah until a better time, right? Well, we don't know when that's going to be. So the courage is, Vayakom, to rise above it and to say, we're going to have a celebration. We're going to have joy, whether the world wants it or not. The world needs it. So RJ, I'm not just proud of you. I'm inspired by your courage and your commitment and your conviction, and I'm inspired by your willingness to get through what I know has been a challenge, but I want you to know you're not alone. It's challenging for all of us. And you give us courage and you give us strength and you bring healing to the world. Because you're a mensch, because you're a good guy. You've got a great soul. And I know I speak on behalf of Cantor in saying that we really love you and care about you, but we're really inspired by you and we've learned from you. So thank you for enabling all of us to reach this very special occasion. Cantor, is there anything you wanted to add before we bless him?
I mean, I really think you said it all, Rabbi. Just know that you are a fantastic, fantastic young man, and you will be a great leader of the Jewish people. And we can't wait to see this fantastic adult that you're going to become. And always know, just as Rabbi said, we are here every single step of the way with you. Mazel tov.
And before we ask for God's blessings on you, I'm inviting me and the cantor, we're inviting ourselves when the computer is done. We want to come over and do some gaming. We'll bring our hand sanitizer and our masks. And we want to see what this,
Yes.
I want to see what this thing looks like. So whenever you're ready, we're coming over.
Yeah.
And we want to see this thing in action. Anyway, again, Mazel Tov. It's our pleasure to ask for God's blessings, not only for ourselves, but for Rabbi Mason Barkin and for all of your teachers who helped bring you to this moment.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and protect you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's countenance be lifted upon you and be gracious unto you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom.
May God's face always shine upon yours and give you abundant health and happiness and peace.
Ve'yasem lecha shalom. Shalom.
Amen.
Siman tov und mazel tov, mazel tov and siman tov und mazel tov and siman tov und mazel tov and siman tov. Yehelanu Siman Tov und Mazel Tov und Mazel Tov and Siman Tov und Mazel Tov and Siman Tov und Mazel Tov and Siman Tov Yehelanu.
Please be seated. Again, it's great to have Julie Lewis on the bima, aunt of our bar mitzvah, member of our board of directors, to present our bar mitzvah with some swag on behalf of the board and the congregation.
I have the honor often, and you all knew it was going to happen. I'm verklempt. But I am RJ. Mazel tov. Mazel tov to my whole family. Thank you for everybody who is here, everybody who's on YouTube. Thank you for that speech, RJ. Like I said, I have the honor of being up here with many B'nai Mitzvah kids. But it was very special to sit here with you. I know that going through this process during this time was difficult, and I'm proud of you for sticking with it and completing this, and I'm very, very proud of you. So, on behalf of the Board of Directors, Congregation Beth Israel, I am ecstatic to be here with you, to welcome you to our community as an adult, and to bestow upon you many gifts. This Torah, a replica, is open to your Parsha, which I'm sure you will read daily. You can report back on that one. In this envelope, this very special envelope, is your bar mitzvah certificate. We have planted a tree in your honor. There is a certificate for Camp Stein, our beloved Camp Stein, and for the big trip to Israel. And this Kiddush cup, which has your name engraved on it, which I wish that you use on many, many Shabbats in your own home. I love you, Mazel Tov, and I love all of you. Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi, you said, speak from the heart. Normally I read from the sheet, but.
That was perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. We miss having board members up here for that part of the service, and so, as I said before, no one better than you to break the cycle of non-board member presentations. Before we conclude our service with Aleinu and Kaddish, and RJ, you're welcome to go sit down with your aunt at this time. As a congregation, and I know because of the family's connection as well, we want to also extend Mazel Tov to Lisa and Rabbi Ronnie Keller for Aviv's bar mitzvah, which was this morning in Boca Raton. And so I know that half of the family went with Ronnie and Lisa to Israel, yes? And so yeah, Aviv became a bar mitzvah. Because of the time difference and my teaching Torah study, I was able to watch about a half an hour of the service, but on behalf of all of our congregation, and I know for you guys, your special connection with Ronnie, Mazel Tov to Aviv. Many of us were at his Brit Milah, so to think that he became a bar mitzvah today is kind of cool. But RJ, I'm glad that we were here with you for your bar mitzvah today. because of, again, our long connection and deep connection with your family and with your aunt and uncle and cousins as well. And we will see all of you at camp this summer because it is happening. No matter what. I don't care what. We're doing it. All right, friends. Aleinu and Kaddish, page 598 or 294. I'm sorry, that's Kaddish, not Aleinu. Aleinu is 586 or 282. And together, please stand.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וכוחנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
On this Shabbat, we share our deepest sympathies as we note the passing of the following people who were recently laid to their eternal rest, whose families observe Shiva and Shloshim, the immediate 7 and 30 days of mourning. Nancy Blum, mother of Robert Blum, Beverly Weltman, mother of Gary Weltman. And on this Shabbat, we remember those of our congregational family whose yahrzeits occur this week. Rita J. Baer, Stanley Barman, Noreen Carol Barry, Jeanette Becker, Ann Smith-Berger, Sarah Kars, Edith Channon, Bonnie Cohn Cogan, Frank Colton, Jason Evan Cook, Philip Copeland, Elma Diamond, Helen Diamond, Harry Efron, Edward Fishman, Sarah Gold, Ruth Goldstein, Sid Gordon, Celia Gorodetsky, Gertrude Gottlieb, Susan Ruth Greenberg, Harry Krell, Sarah Landy, Lily Lanton, Louis Leeds, Rebecca Leibson, Milton Lipnick, Isaac Jesse Lipson, Richard Miller, Jack Monheit, Elaine Nadow, Arnold Nedwin, Hal Ober, Jamie Pia Kingnagura, Esther Rubenstein, Louis Schwartz, Martin Stone, Stephen J. Wallach, Martin Weinberg. If you'd like to either say the name of a loved one out loud or write the name of a loved one for whom you are recognizing yahrzeit on this Shabbat or just thinking of today, please do so at this time. Zichroneam levracha, may their memories be a blessing. Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 598 and 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divrach irutei v'amlich machutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevorach le'alam u'le'amei amaya. Yibarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekutsha brichu. Le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shamaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to those who are grieving. As together we say, Amen.
Amen. So we're going to conclude with a special song that is inspired by Chaye Sarah, and it has a wonderful audience participation part in it. I'm sure you may have heard this song before. It's a song that was written by Pete Seeger, one of the great Jewish composers, and this is your part. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. Let's all try that. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. If I had wings like Noah's dove, I'd fly up the river to the one I love. Let's try it now. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. I remember one evening in the pouring rain, but in my heart was an aching pain. Everybody, fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. Show us a bird flying high above. Life ain't worth living without the one you love. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. Last time, fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well. Fare thee well, my honey, fare thee well.
We're going to join together now in Kiddush and Hamotzi, and then we're going to let Cantor go have an awesome birthday and let you guys go have a wonderful day continuing the celebration. So in order to do that, Kiddush and Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. L'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Ose shalom bimromav uyase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom